Have you ever wondered what it would be like to unearth treasures that have been stashed away for possible centuries? It's truly amazing what some people have managed to discover while they weren't even looking for it. Today we're going to be taking a look at 6 of the biggest treasures that were found by mistake. Be sure to stick around and hear about the pendant that was worth millions of dollars and was discovered entirely by accident. And hey, if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and slam that notification bell so that you don't miss any of our amazing uploads. Number 6. The JANUS Cup. As a scrap metal dealer, you wouldn't typically expect to come across a high-value or antique item that someone was trying to get rid of as scrap. And that's why, when this scrap metal dealer came across an interesting-looking cup, he didn't think anything of it and decided to give it to his grandson as an interesting little gift. The cup looked like it might be fairly old, and it had 2 faces cast in the side of the cup. The young boy who was gifted the item was a boy named John Weber, and after receiving the cup as a gift, he stashed it underneath his bed and then essentially had forgotten about it until he was around 70 years old. It wasn't until he was moving and packing up his home that he rediscovered the cup, and now that he was older and wiser, he quickly realized that he might have actually been holding onto a valuable artifact. He could tell just by looking at the cup that it was likely made out of gold or gold-plated in some way, and he decided to get the cup looked at. Experts at the British Museum had never seen anything like the cup and suggested that John take it to a lab to be analyzed. Although it cost him a bit to have the material tested, he was certainly glad he did. John had gotten his hands on what is now known as the JANUS Cup, as it has 2 faces of the Roman goddess Janus on the side of the cup. It was determined that the cup was made out of solid gold and dated back to the 3rd and 4th century BC to the Persian Empire. The cup quickly sold at auction and made John Weber $100,000. Number 5. The DEVON Moonstone. A home was purchased in Sussex, England by a family in 1950, and little did they know, but they had just come into possession of something very valuable. Shortly after moving into the property, the family discovered a large stone that had been placed there by the previous owner. It was a large semicircular stone slab made out of granite that was in the shape of a half circle. On the surface of the slab, you could see carvings that included rows of animals such as lions, elephants, birds, and more, along with a few rows of flowers. Now, even though the stone literally weighed a ton, the family still took it with them anytime they moved into a new home. Over time, the stone would land in the possession of the daughter of the family, Bronwyn. Bronwyn, along with Mike Hickmott, decided to get the engraved slab evaluated and were blown away. The stone slab turned out to be something known as a Sri Lankan moonstone, named after the Sandaka Pahana. The stone resembles those found in Buddhist temples that were carved between the years of 400 BC to 1000 AD. Following the evaluation, the moonstone ended up selling at auction for nearly $800,000, despite there still being some doubt as to the authenticity of the stone and the manner in which it was acquired. Number 4. Viking Silver on Spilling Farm. A documentary crew was working on a piece about illegal smuggling and treasure hunting on a farm that was located in Spilling, England. While on the farm, the team discovered a hoard of Viking silver the likes of which the world had never seen. The treasure was discovered underneath the floorboards of a Viking shed that's dated back to the 9th century. In total, 150 pounds of silver were found, along with nearly 50 pounds of bronze. Most of the treasure was in the form of coins, but the hoard also included ringlets and armbands that belonged to the Vikings. The owner of the farm was given a finder's fee that equaled out to $240,000, but that was nothing compared to the actual value of the stash. During the time that the treasure is suspected to have been hidden, it's believed to have been worth enough money for a settlement to pay its taxes to the King of Sweden for more than 4 years. In other words, it was a lot of loot to have back in those days. The discovery of the treasure also allowed researchers to discover that the land was likely inhabited in that area for more than 1,000 years, something that was previously unknown. Number 3. The Leicester Stone. While out browsing at yard sales in Leicester, England, an archaeologist named James Baum stumbled upon something that he immediately believed might hold historical value. What he found was a stone that stood to be about 18 inches tall and had a base that was about 5.5 inches wide, and it grew more narrow towards the top of the stone. After purchasing and cleaning the stone off, Baum was surprised to discover engravings etched into the stone that he believed might have been some sort of ancient language. The exact date of origin for the stone is unknown, though many speculate that it dates back to the Anglo-Saxon period, which took place between 400 to 1100 AD. Before James got his hands on the stone, it was just sitting in someone's yard as a lawn ornament, but it turns out that it might hold far more value. The Leicester stone is still in the process of being tested for further information as to its origin. Number 2. The SADDLERIDGE HOARD. In 2013, while a couple was out for a walk on their property with their dog, they ended up stumbling on something that changed their lives forever. What they discovered has been referred to as the literal pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Inside multiple metal cans on the property, the couple discovered $10 million worth of mint-condition gold coins. In total, there were about 1,400 coins, all of which were dated back to the 1800s. The discovery has been named the SADDLERIDGE HOARD, and in order to keep their property safe from other treasure hunters, the couple decided to remain anonymous. While the face value of the coins only totaled a little bit over $20,000, due to their history and condition, they're now worth more than 500 times that amount. Number 1. MIDDLEHAM Jewel. Ted Seaton was a treasure hunter who was heading to his car after a day out in the field, and sadly, it has been an unsuccessful one. At least, that's what he thought. While on his way back to the car after calling it a day, his metal detector began doing its job and detected a metal object on the ground. At first, Ted believed that he'd found some sort of old makeup case, but after further investigation realized it was actually something of far more value. He had found a 15th century pendant made out of gold and with a large sapphire sitting on the top. The engravings have led researchers to believe that the pendant belonged to someone of high political or religious standing. The pendant has engravings of the Trinity, multiple saints, and the Nativity. Inside the pendant, there was a small cloth which was embroidered with gold and is believed to be a religious artifact of sorts. The pendant was deemed the name of the MIDDLEHAM jewel and sold at auction for $4.3 million. The money that was made from the treasure was split up by Seaton. He gave half of the finding to the 2 other treasure hunters that he worked with, and he gave a quarter of it to the owner of the land that the pendant was discovered on, and the other quarter went to himself. $1 million is pretty phenomenal for a day's worth of treasure hunting. What I wouldn't give to accidentally stumble across something that made me millions of dollars. What was the most interesting discovery that you saw in today's video? Be sure to let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all of our uploads.